So when you're testing it this way, you're using accelerated delivery. Okay, this is an advanced strategy.
What's the sneak attack?
I'll just show it to you. It's going to be hard to explain. So a bunch of interests, okay? Bunch of interest, super broad. So what you do is you have to have a high budget, and then you start low and work your way up to try to find the sweet spot for the bid. So when you're testing it this way, you're using accelerated delivery with a high daily budget. Okay, this is an advanced strategy. Okay, normally if you're going to just use bid cap, you're not going to use accelerated delivery. Okay, you start low, and then if you're not getting any impressions, this bid control keeps going up, right? Now this is optimizing on purchase, so that's why it's such a high number there, right? Because we're like per strategy session booked. That's why it's $300. It'd be kind of like selling a $100 product, essentially $200 product. So you might start with say $50 in here, and then if you're not getting any impressions, because remember the daily budget was at 3,000 for the campaign. Did you see that?
Yeah.
So the daily budget is at 3,000. So what you do is you start low and then you work your way up.
And it's not gonna spend.
But if you start high, that's 3,000 could be spent in like 2 hours. So if you're gonna do sneak attack, you have to monitor it super closely throughout the day.
Okay.
What this can do though, by doing this can potentially, in theory, also help you find a sweet spot for your bid cap, right? So I could do bid cap at, I might find that it's around 356, the sweet spot. And so if you're going to use normal bid, so let's say that I just want to use bid cap in a new campaign and my daily budget was $500 a day. Okay. If my daily budget's my normal kind of like say, $300, $400, $500 for that campaign budget, I can start with a fairly high number there. I could start with 300 or 400 if I wanted to, because they're going to spread that out throughout the day. It's not like they're going to spend all 500 in the first 2 hours. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not accelerated delivery. It's a normal delivery. But when you use accelerated delivery, what that's going to do is it's going to deliver everything right away. So when you're using accelerated delivery, then, so I'm using accelerated delivery at the campaign level. So let's click into the campaign. Now we're at the ad set level. If we're at accelerated delivery and I start and we're optimizing on an application purchase, which is around say $200 anyways, let's say I start at 50, then 0 impressions, right? You go a few hours, nothing. And then you can raise it up to, 60 to 80. And then you come back an hour or two later and there's no impressions. So that's where, then you're just raising it. All of a sudden, now you're starting to get impressions, and then you watch it. And then you might find a sweet spot for that bid. And then what you can do is you could potentially, by doing this, you can find a good number to use, and you can start a new campaign and you can say, I'm going to use bid cap. So let's say the sweet spot was 356. Doesn't sound like it really was, because we haven't spent a lot on this one yet.
Yeah.
But be a little easier to do, when we're running like into the challenge funnel or something where there's more volume, or the lead conversion potentially funnel. But let's say that we found the sweet spot to be 300 even. Now what I can do is I can go over here and I could create a new campaign. Say we're here. So highest value, lowest cost is what we're the standard that we always usually start with, right? That most of our campaigns are using. We haven't seen as good a performance with cost cap. And a lot of people, we don't recommend this. Bid cap, but don't necessarily almost scratch what I just said. Like cost cap, just because I said that doesn't mean you shouldn't try it out. And it's just another arsenal that you can, another tool in your arsenal you can test, and you can spread out your spend. Target cost seems to be like they'll charge you a higher cost per CPA. But bid cap, and these two can be, pretty good. But bid cap here, and then when you go into the ad set level is when you can start to adjust things, and adjust your target, right? So I hit
does
continue.
Does it have to be on CBO to use the bid cap?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now here is the bid control.
Gotcha. Okay.
So $5 maximum bid in each oxygen, and that's where you adjust that price. So you might start it out at 50, raise it up like I was showing earlier. And so now, if you're not at accelerated bidding, like in this case, I'm at normal bidding, right? I typically, if you're not going to be at accelerated bidding, we're at normal here, and then down here, this is where we went to accelerated. Spend your budget and results as quick as possible. Always going to be standard, unless you're doing that random experiment like we talked about, and you're starting with that. So let's say we're doing accelerated. If you're doing accelerated bidding here, that's when you're going to start low on the bid control.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're not doing accelerated bidding and you're doing regular standard, then we always recommend starting with a higher CPA than your goal. So if your goal is to get a $50, my goal is to get $50 per purchase, then I might start out with 100 to 150 and see what happens, and then I can lower it slowly over time. But if you're at accelerated, you're going to start low and work your way up. But usually, we're going to start higher, or maybe right around. Sometimes we find that if our goal is to get a $50 CPA, then sometimes starting right around, 50 or 60 works out pretty well. But if you're starting higher, like at 100 to 150, start to, work it down a little bit and see what happens. And all these things can help you stay out of learning mode too.
Do you keep it running at accelerate? Is it just to find your best spot for bid control, or when you find it, you keep going with that? You keep the campaign?
It just depends. Honestly, we usually won't keep going on the accelerated bidding. We'll pause it, and then
because you can't monitor it during night. And
no, we wouldn't usually use that. We wouldn't keep it going. It's more just to find
the spot.
Or sometimes you might find that, holy shit, you just gets into the jet stream and you get all these super low cost per purchase or your CPAs. And that can happen too at scale, especially when you're in a big, broad appeal audience, mass consumer. You can get really, especially if you have really good creative, but you have to be careful there. But usually, no, you don't keep it in the accelerated. So